I got told no twice by the same landlord, not different landlords, the exact same one. And the only reason why I got the deal closed on the third attempt was because I changed how I spoke to him. Not the numbers, not the offer, just how I spoke to him. And today I'm going to show you the exact script that I use, pitch to landlords and close deals every single time. And if you're trying to get into the Airbnb business, this is one of the most important skills that you can master. Most people think that this business is about finding deals. It's not. There's deals everywhere. They're in abundance. The real skill is in closing deals consecutively and getting landlords to actually trust you. You have to think about it from their perspective. You're basically saying, can I take your property and run it as a business and make profit off it? Of course they're going to be cautious, and this is where most beginners fail, including myself. They try to get on the phone and read out a pitch word for word. You end up sounding robotic and not trustworthy. I remember on one of my first calls, I started talking about occupancy rates, RevPAR, ADR, all of this. Basically trying to convince a landlord I knew what I was doing. And what happened was he shut it down immediately. He said no, he got off the phone. And that was that. And here's something that most people won't tell you. The reason why landlords say no is not because they hate short-term rentals or Airbnb. Some might. I understand there's a lot of bad rep going around about Airbnb at the minute. But most of them don't do it because they hate Airbnb. They say no because they fear risk. And their fears are usually property damage, parties, neighbours complaining, fines, the rent not being paid, legal issues, losing control. They're not rejecting your idea. They're just trying to protect themselves and their asset. After being rejected twice by this landlord, I had a massive realization. Previously, I was trying to sell him an opportunity rather than trying to solve his problems. And that mindset shift changed everything for me. You need to go from stop trying to sell the landlord something or get a deal and shift over to how can I solve this landlord's problems? Because beginners chase the properties, real operators solve problems. And that's what's going to differentiate people who close deals and who get rejected. So back to my original story. When I spoke to this landlord for the third time, my third attempt at outreach, I completely changed my approach. I didn't pitch Airbnb, I didn't pitch profits, I didn't pitch all these technical details that he doesn't want to hear. I just positioned stability. So this is roughly what I said to him. I completely understand if short-term let isn't something you're comfortable with. Most landlords at the start felt the exact same way. But what I actually do is much simpler. I become your long-term tenant. So we look at signing a 3 to 5 year lease and I pay you a fixed rent, whether the property is occupied or not. And then I manage everything professionally. Everything is on me. And then I stop talking. And this is where most people lose deals, regardless of what the industry is. They just keep talking and keep trying to over-convince the person that they know what they're talking about and they should work with them or they should close a deal. Very important lesson in there. Silence is very powerful in negotiations. Let the landlord process what you just said. If they hang up, fine, you can call them back at another time. But you need to give them a bit of breathing space to understand what you just said, process it, and come back at you with something. If you don't and you keep just speaking, you're not actually giving them any opportunity to really trust you. So after all of that, the landlord came back and said to me, my main concern is people partying and damaging the property. And in that moment, I was very confident that I was going to close the deal because I knew then that's what's stopping him from crossing the line. That is his main concern. And once I'm able to acknowledge and solve that problem for him, he's good to go. So I said something along the lines of, that's completely fair. And that's most landlords' first concern when they hear about this business model. We actually prevent that. We have strict guest screening. We get soft copies of passports. We usually get ring doorbells and noise decibel monitors installed in the property. So there's no chance of any parties. On top of the fact that our main clientele are corporate professionals and contractors working in the area. So we try to stray away from party goers. But even if they were to come in, our guest screening process is really good. So they wouldn't slip through the cracks. So we told them that we prevent that from having a strict vetting process. We get passport copies from all guests. We get deposits. And we also have professional cleaners coming in every single time that there's guest checkouts. On top of that, we'll also have contents insurance for the property. And we're covered by Airbnb's insurance policy, which can allow us to claim back for any damages to the property. And then I followed with, because this is a business for us, we maintain the property at a much higher standard than a regular tenant would. And regardless of occupancy, your rent is going to be guaranteed. And that was the moment the conversation completely shifted. So let me simply break down why this worked. It worked because I acknowledged his concern, I showed the systems we have in place, and I removed any financial risk that he previously had. And that's it. Where most beginners go wrong is they'll argue, they try to convince, they'll talk too much on the phone, they'll mention Airbnb. That's the wrong approach. You don't win landlords over by arguing with them or trying to convince or plead with them. You win the deals by reducing fear and building trust. If you want a simple framework that works every single time, this is it. So step one, build conversation naturally. Don't just jump straight into the pitch. I always say this to people. Don't be so robotic. Don't think that this is do or die. It's literally just another human being. Have a conversation with them. Crack a joke. Have a bit of a laugh. Keep it professional, but you can also have a laugh and crack a joke. It will lighten the mood and can build more trust to show them that you're not just some other person making a cold call that is so serious about life. Step 2 is ask the situation. This is essential in the early stages of the conversation. You want to gather as much data on his situation before you can then go into a pitch and solve his problems. So ask questions like, why is the property up for rent? Did you ever have any bad tenants? Are you managing it yourself? Gather as much data as you possibly can, because that can be used later in the conversation as leverage to close the deal. Step 3 is position stability. So this is where you're going to start getting into your pitch. If you position yourself that you have a stable 3 to 5 year guaranteed rent contract, that's a green flag in every landlord's mind. Step 4, remove risk. So this is all about professionalism first, and then showing the systems and contracts that you have in place. So this will be the later stage of your pitch. You go into more detail about what you do, the systems that you have in place, and the specific contract that you and the landlord will have in place to make sure this is all legal. Again, if you keep the conversation flowing in this professional manner, hitting all the pain points of the landlord, showing you know what you're talking about and you're trustworthy, you're very close to closing the deal at that point. And the final step, and I think this is most important, keep it simple. Like I said previously, everyone overcomplicates this. They read from a script, they sound robotic. A landlord doesn't want to speak to somebody that sounds like an AI bot. Stick to the basics, understand his pain points, use them as leverage later in your pitch, and solve his problems. That's all there is to it. If you can do all of these steps, you're going to have an extremely high closing rate when you're pitching to landlords. And here's an advanced tip. Landlords don't choose the highest offer. They choose the lowest perceived risk. I've offered much more money than other people before, but because I didn't pitch correctly and I didn't build any trust with the landlord, he rejected my offer. Trust beats numbers every single time. So in short, what actually closes deals is confidence, clarity, simplicity, and most of all, professionalism. Keep yourself as the authority figure in your niche. Build up the trust and the relationship with the landlord, and you'll easily be able to close any deal. The biggest lesson that I've learned in the last 2 years of operating is that I stopped trying to impress landlords. I stopped trying to give them all the intricate details of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do this and the numbers and everything. And I just started to try to understand what is their problems and how can I solve them. And my success rate in closing deals because of that shift exponentially grew, because I wasn't coming off as somebody who's trying to sell them something. They probably deal with cold calls all the time. I was coming off as somebody who they could see as a partner or somebody that was trying to help them solve the problems that they deal with. So if you're struggling with your first deal or closing deals in general, it's probably not your offer. 99% of the time, it's down to how you're communicating with the landlord. This is a people's business before it's a property business. And you need to understand how to communicate properly, how to actually navigate through a sales call, and how to leverage parts of that to get what you want in the call. So if you take one thing from this video, stop trying to pitch strategies and start solving problems for the landlord. Because when they're on the phone, they just want to know how they're going to benefit from it, not how you're going to benefit from it. Never lead with what you're going to get from the deal or how you're going to benefit. Always try to solve their problems and how they'll benefit. My first deal didn't come from being the smartest person in the room. It came from learning how to communicate value effectively. If you found this video useful, subscribe to the channel because I break down videos how to start, run, and scale your Airbnb business every single week. And if you want the exact script that I use to pitch to landlords, I've pinned it in the comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.